civilizations, you have to go to these esoteric cults, like the Freemasons, to understand the ancient past. Well, they themselves practice ritual magic. Now, many don't know that your leaders go into these big temples that you hardly even notice, even though they're emblazoned with gold pentagrams and pentagrams on the floor. There's a nice one downtown London if you haven't noticed it. And they go behind these locked doors and they do ritual. Why would they do that? And why is it that every leader, half of our presidents in America, have belonged to a single fraternity? Is this coincidence? Are they just the best people in the world? Is these the people that we should have running us? Well, of course, we all judge their fruits and say no. Not at all. And ceremonial magic is this ancient art of invoking demons, invoking entities into this realm, and then using their power to manipulate the realities. And Manly P. Hall was hired by the Freemasons to explain Freemasonry to Freemasons. Because see, they don't remember what their rituals are about anymore either. And so Manly P. Hall came on and he says, well, there were ancient magicians and they practiced a type of magic that was divine, but this type of power was usurped by the priestcraft of Atlantis. And now the magic has gone black. The spells that they use against us we think are all commonplace, and many of us feel that life is just the outcome of human endeavor, that we just ended up like this because humans are all just nuts and they don't know what to do on planet Earth. But I found this not to be the case. I found that each and every one of the people that I have run into and met all along the way are wonderful, loving, nurturing, caring, generous people, and none of them seem to want to rule the world. There's 6 billion of you, and just a few of them. But they've got these spells and they've got these enchantments that they've placed upon us. And we see them as panticles. We see them as events of prestidigitation. I mean, certainly the economy is not real. The dollar is not real. But what is it? When you start to look into ancient magic, you'll find panticles and talismans, seals of Solomon to bind spirits. And they look just like that. The $1 bill. The mystical symbols on either side, the phoenix and the pyramid, with the binding agent, the one that they seem to be seeking. And each of these symbols have meaning and understanding, and they are coded frequencies that they are passing down through time. They use also events, such as 9/11, as an act of stage magicians, to bring about the agenda that they hope to fulfill. I personally had predicted 9/11. I don't know why I'm on the tip of this knowledge. I don't understand where it really comes from. But I had a very strict and important reason why I knew 9/11 would occur. I'm looking at the scenario, and we look at Bill Clinton. This is where I began, somewhere around 1996. This was my awakening to the political realm. I'd already been into ancient astronauts and aliens, Freemasonry, all since I was a child. And as I grew older, I found out my dad is a worshipful master of the Kaiserslautern Lodge in Bavaria and is chasing flying saucers for the government. I didn't know that. I was studying this stuff long before I found out my family's involvement. I find out he's building nuclear missiles in North Dakota for a company that has a ride in Walt Disney World. Put that one together. And he was on Killer One submarine with Jimmy Carter. So I'm finding out that, oh my God, you know, my dad is chasing flying saucers for the government, and he's doing secret rituals behind these locked doors, and he's not just one, he's the king. He's the man running the show. He's the one that runs the lodge, the worshipful master. And I start to come into understandings how the Freemasons have guided us all through time, and they have built our heroes and our villains. If you look into history, everybody's a friggin' Freemason. Everyone. You talk about Paul Revere. I'm talking American, I'm sorry. You know, I've heard a lot of British history today that I was like, oh, I don't know. But American history, you know, we're looking at Paul Revere, we're looking at Benedict Arnold, we're looking at Jesse James. And the list goes on. And it seems that only Freemasons make history. Or Freemasons are writing history. 9/11. I told a number of friends. Now, I didn't have a radio show, a TV show, or anything. I was just kind of wandering around, and I had this insight. I saw them take Bill Clinton, the saxophone-playing man of the people president, and drag him through the mud. They brought him out in front of everyone and brought up inserting cigars into his secretary. The poor man was turning purple and constantly going, "Can I go to the restroom again?" They don't do this to presidents. This is not something they do. Every president's had a mistress. I mean, good God, you know, JFK, Marilyn Monroe, you know, there are things going on. So why were they dragging this man through the mud? Why would they bring our president, this man of the people, out in front of us and accuse him and impeach him of a crime that most of us would say, so what? You know, weddings, marriages, they go foul, and there's, you know, things that go on. So I saw this as psychological warfare. I said, okay, they're tearing down the man. They placed in front of us, because I no longer believe in elections. I had now seen, as they had 51% of our presidents being members of a single fraternity, I no longer believed. I mean, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, the list goes on and on. The first 13 presidents are all Freemasons. I don't believe in elections, and I've proven that it's false. So as I'm looking into this psychological warfare, and I see them dragging poor Bill Clinton out in front of the eye of everybody in this dastardly way, I say this is psychological warfare. They're trying to tear down the man. They're preparing for World War III. They had talked much about World War III back in the 1700s. We'll get to that. So I knew that this was psychological warfare, and I looked at the scenario and I said, well, all right, if they're going to tear down this man of the people, then the very next step they need to do is to railroad a president into office. I'm sorry, I don't have this all adjusted exactly as I want. But I was coming to my understanding of corporate logos. I'm looking about me and I'm seeing everywhere pentagrams, shells, fish goddesses with their feet behind their heads, big pentagram over her head. I've seen the sun sign on Target and the double Templar cross on Exxon and ABC, CBS, and NBC, all of them having Illuminati, Freemason meaning. I can take every single corporate logo that you see of any major production and identify it within a Masonic ritual. So I knew that these were signs of allegiance. These were messages that they were passing to other brothers to say, hey, we're in the club. You don't think Starbucks just makes the best coffee in the world, do you? No. No. But they got that fish goddess, and we're going to learn who she is. But as I got around and I was going through all the different gas stations, I see the double cube of Chevron and the pentagram and the shell, and I got to Phillips 66, and I said, well, what the heck's that? But as I found and I studied and I read the Masonic documents, I went to the Temple of the 33rd, the Supreme Mother Council of the world in the District of Columbia, and they went and they found my father's membership card, and they said, okay, you're one of us. I don't practice rituals behind closed doors, and I don't sit there and call upon demons and cast spirits into buildings. That's just not my style. I don't care how much power you're going to give me. I'm not going to go sit down before your altar and tell you that I come with my free will and accord. I won't do it. But all these men have, and they've all been given power. So as I studied Freemasonry and looked deeper, and I read the works of Albert Pike, who is the Grand Sovereign Commander of the Supreme Council of the 33rd, the Mother Council of the world. They love lofty titles. And I read his works, and in 70 times or more, he states clearly that Freemasonry is Kabbalism. So I'm like, what's Kabbalism? Kabbalism is an ancient Jewish mysticism. It was given to Moses, according to Manly P. Hall, on his third trip up to the mountain to speak to the burning bush. He was given the law, then the soul of the law, and then the spirit of the law, and that was Kabbalah.